Welcome back to the channel. And does Stetson Bennett have a future in the NFL? Y'all said that y'all want parity in college football championship games, but y'all really don't. Who do I feel is the X factor for the Miami Hurricanes in their 2023 recruiting class? And why do I feel like Jaleel Skinner could break out and be our most dominant or our most productive playmaker going into 2023? So let's start at the top. There's a lot of different opinions based around Stetson Bennett in terms of, well, he's just a game manager. He really didn't do anything special. It's a good story, reminiscent of a modern day Rudy in many aspects. But I don't see all of that. I see some of it, but I don't see all of it. Because what I see a little bit more than a game manager. Now, of course, I'll be the first to admit again, I haven't watched all of the University of Georgia football games. I haven't. And I'm not taking it, and I'm not necessarily making this assessment based on the fact that he was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Because again, that's something that people could say, well, that's just another thing that they could put in the story. Like, no. I really think that Stetson Bennett played well in the games that I watched him play. So I want to go back to 2021, obviously. And the reason I want to go back is I want to go back to the SEC championship game, in which Alabama was at full strength in terms of you still had Mechie, you still had Williamson, and that game was a rout. They befuddled Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett did not play his best game. And obviously, of course, we know what subsequently happened. Alabama's two big receiving threats went down. The freshman guys were not able to necessarily pick up the slack. And Georgia wins their first national championship, right? So I liken this to a situation similar to Jordan Travis of Florida State, where that last impression of him is basically what many fans, outside fan bases, have of Stetson Bennett. So obviously, of course, the playoffs start, semifinals, national championship game. So obviously, all eyes are on Stetson. And Kirby Smart said after the Ohio State game, Stetson Bennett needed to play a lot better in order for them to win a national championship. But I saw some things in an Ohio State game that were things that I feel like that a game manager doesn't necessarily do, or they don't have the ability to do so. I saw some things that a guy that is actually one of the upper tier quarterbacks, not at the highest tier, but an upper tier quarterback. And one of those things is anticipation, throwing the ball in anticipation. Being able to manipulate the pocket. Obviously, he's a shorter quarterback. Georgia has a massive offensive line. And just his way of being able to throw in anticipation. I saw one particular play. Obviously, they replayed it. And Stetson fit. I don't know what his arm strength is, right? I don't know. Obviously, we don't get these particular measurables until maybe the guy goes to the combine. They do some sports science and stuff on him. But he seems to be able to fit the ball in some spots, and he's throwing guys open, right? That's another thing, right? Because a lot of college quarterbacks, again, that's another knock on college quarterbacks going from college to the NFL. One is they lock onto receivers, and then two, they're not throwing with anticipation, they're not throwing guys open. And in the 2-game sample size I saw of Stetson Bennett, and as well as the Tennessee game, I saw a guy that was throwing guys open. That's what I saw. It was one particular play that I saw against Ohio State. And I said if TCU makes that same mistake, he's going to hurt them. And that play was Stetson Bennett we're demonstrating here. He takes the snap, and obviously he turns. And so just based on my small amount of knowledge, if you're blitzing off the edge, you're not supposed to target this shoulder. You're supposed to target this shoulder. Because if you target this shoulder and you don't have any, and you're the outside containment, you're giving the quarterback a free release to spin move, get around you, and now you're out leveraged. Now you don't have the angle. Whereas if you attack this particular shoulder, you're going to force him in, and hopefully you have a player or players there that can make the tackle. And Ohio State failed that particular mission, as well did TCU. I believe that was Stetson's first big scramble. It was D. Winters, who, from the 2 games I saw from TCU, Probably one of their better defenders. I don't know if he was their best, but he was one of the better defenders. He was a guy that, you know, popped off on tape. And he rushed in on his shoulder. Stetson spun around. And the announcer said, okay, it's going to be a foot race. And TCU is not a slow defense by any stretch of the imagination. Stetson Bennett got to the outside and proceeded to go get the first down. And I said, man, I don't think he's Troy Apke, but I'm intrigued to see what Stetson Bennett runs at the combine. I'm very intrigued. Obviously, there are guys that say, well, you know, Stetson doesn't have an NFL future. And my rebuttal to that is, if Tim Tebow could get drafted, Stetson Bennett can get drafted. I think when we look at the way that things have changed, obviously, most people were hesitant to get the short quarterback. We got Johnny Manziel, we got Kyler Murray, we got Baker Mayfield, right? That's out the window. So short quarterbacks, y'all have a place in the NFL. Then it was, well, we're not necessarily trying to get the scramble guys. Now it seems like everybody scrambles. Even Josh Allen, who, based on statistics, actually scrambles a little bit more than Lamar Jackson does. But that's a different discussion for a different video, right? But I'm interested to see what he does, right? The announcers were saying that if he were able to go to a system like maybe what Kyle Shanahan has at the 49ers, and I was thinking maybe Sean McVay, a guy, you know, guys that are just at the top of the top in terms of play calling prowess, they probably could find a way to utilize Stetson Bennett. Maybe going to a situation kind of similar to what he has at the University of Georgia, where, you know, you got a strong running game and, you know, you're not exposing him to too much. Now, again, I'm not trying to sit up here and foretell that Stetson Bennett will go to be a Pro Bowler and Hall of Fame or anything like that. But I do think he has enough ability to get drafted. Now, obviously, some teams may be a little bit hesitant due to his age, but I mean, it's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, right? A lot of teams need quarterbacks, but obviously he has to be an ideal fit. I kind of think about a guy like Trace McSorley, quarterback from Penn State, played right alongside Saquon Barkley. And I think he's still an NFL backup, you know, right now. So I think what most people feel like when they say, is he an NFL player, I think they're saying, looking at it from a standpoint of, can he be an NFL starter? And I don't have an answer to that particular question. But I do feel like that he has the skill set to where he probably could make an NFL roster and remain on an NFL team. Don't know if he's Chase Daniels type of guy, or, you know, Trace McSorley type of guy. But I do think that if he goes to the right system, he maybe could come in like a what's the guy? The guy's name slips my mind, but the quarterback that came in for the Commanders and had the really, really good playoff game against the Buccaneers. His name slips me, but, you know, he went to Harvard. So there are opportunities for these particular guys to get in. Obviously, you know, Dallas, Dak Prescott got hurt. Cooper Rush comes in, right, you know, mans the ship, and, you know, it is what it is. But I do think there's a place for him, right? But those are just my things. I'm not a scout by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just looking at some things that I saw him do in games that made me say, okay, well, you know, he has some skills, right? So, moving on. This entire season, for the most part, what I heard people say was, I'm tired of seeing Alabama, I'm tired of seeing Georgia. Tired of seeing them. It's time for some new teams. Tired of seeing Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson. I'm tired of seeing the same teams play for the national championship. Let's get some parity. It's time to get some parity in here. We got some parity. TCU was the quote-unquote sacrificial lamb. Cincinnati was a sacrificial lamb last year. And we saw what happened. Now, this is my rebuttal to this. Because one of the things a lot of people have been saying is that, man, this game was a total mismatch. The committee got this absolutely wrong. TCU should have probably had to play Georgia in the first round and just, you know, go ahead and get that out of the way. Or maybe they shouldn't even been in the playoff anyway. We need to stop saying which team deserves it more, and we need to figure out which team is the actual best team to get in there. And I said, okay, cool. That's what the 4 teams were supposed to solve, right? And the 12 team, in my opinion, is just more so about bringing value back to the bowl games. I don't think it has anything to do with the national championship, because I think at the end of the day, the same teams that are at the top 4, they're the ones that realistically probably could still win. I mean, obviously, what we had, Tulane upset USC. I mean, yeah, that'll happen, but you think Tulane gonna beat Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Bama? Think they're gonna beat one of those teams? I don't think so. But anyway, committee made a mistake. So I said, you know what? Let me do my due diligence, right? Because I wanna be objective. I wanna look at this in its pure essence. Now, obviously, this is the largest margin of victory in modern national championship games. This is the largest one by a wide margin in many aspects. The second largest was USC over Oklahoma back in 2004, and I think that margin of victory is about 36 points. So until this past game, the USC beating of Oklahoma was the largest. So I did a little research. I said, wait a minute, man. Since they get it wrong all the time, let's see how because they've never gotten it right. So this statistic goes back to 1998. National championship games since 1998. So obviously, of course, there have been 24 of them, right? Because this marks 22 years. Then you go 2 years back from 2000, and that gets you 1998. 17, listen to me, 17 out of 24 of those games were decided by 3 or more possessions. 3 or more possessions. Playoffs came in 2014, so we are 8 years into the playoffs. 17 games have been decided by 3 or more possessions. So at some point, can you say that they continually get it wrong? Yeah, you can say that. Or can we just finally admit that, listen, similar to professional sports and stuff, sometimes in a one-game situation, a one-game scenario, they're just better. I think back to the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills went to 4 Super Bowls in consecutive years, got beat in every one of them. So, again, there's no interesting metric that goes into deciding what the Buffalo Bills were supposed to be back in back when they were going to the Super Bowl for 4 consecutive years. There was no computer saying, okay, well, we're going to put the Buffalo Bills here. No, Buffalo Bills went out and played games. They won the AFC 4 years in a row, and they got beat by the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys set a Super Bowl record on the Buffalo Bills. So even at that particular margin, things happen. NBA, we've seen NBA finals where there have been sweeps. It happens. That's not human error. That's just somebody's better than you. So I'm not going to blame the committee and say the committee got it wrong when I got 16 other examples of games that were decided by 3 or more possessions. And the reason I say this is because people said, well, hey, look, man, getting beat like this, the next time TCU or another Big 12 team is in this particular situation, we might need to overlook them for a better team. And I said, whoa, wait a minute now. Let's not do that. Let's not pretend like Ohio State showed up and then get beat 31-0. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's just keep it a buck. Obviously you got some outcry, but again, this is the parity. And parity all the time is not gonna look like what y'all think it look like. What y'all imagination of parity is what we see in March Madness. Where a team like, I don't know, let's just make up a team. I got Del Monte, which makes green beans. Del Monte State goes all the way to the Final Four, matches up against North Carolina, and get beat. That's the type of parity that y'all want. Like, man, Del Monte State could have had an opportunity to win that game, man. They didn't lose but by 8. That's parity. Sometimes this is what it takes for parity, right? And to me, some people saying, well, we're not looking for TCU to be back there again. Why? Why? Why not? I think that based on what we see in the Big 12, I don't know if Texas is going to get their stuff together. Oklahoma has some work to do. Why would Baylor not be, I'm not Baylor, why would TCU not be favored to win the Big 12 again? Obviously, they lose a quarterback and some guys, but why should not the defending Big 12 champions, and they loaded up, portal and, got some guys coming in from, recruits. Why should they not be the favorite? Why? All right. But that's just my thing, man. Y'all say y'all wanted parity, but in reality, what y'all wanted was Georgia versus Alabama Part 3. I saw somebody in a Facebook group say, well, Nick Saban's already at the game. How long do you think it's going to take for his team to load up on an airplane and fly out here and play the second half and give us a game? That's what y'all really wanted. Y'all said that y'all are tired of seeing it, but the reality of it is, it's like, nah, we really not. We really want to see this because we like watching good football. And seeing the team lose 65-7, that's not good football. It's not. So, again, I try to be objective. I enjoy parity. That happens. It happens in all sports. But stop saying y'all want parity when y'all really want to see Alabama versus Georgia play for the next, 5-6 years. That's what y'all really want. Now, obviously, of course, Miami Hurricanes, we want our team to get in there somewhere. Preferably, I'd rather for us to be a number 4 seed, because the extra 8, to me, that's irrelevant, man. Y'all just there. So, that's there. So, moving on. I was watching Groove and A Black. Shout out to those guys, Storm Warning. And they were just going through who they felt like were the best players that we have coming in from recruiting as well as the transfer portal. And so I'm interacting in the comments, and I said, you know what, man? Chris Johnson has the opportunity to be the biggest X factor in this entire class. Young man got speed to burn. And from some of the things that I've heard people say, he still has work to do in terms of becoming a running back. So I hope we don't have a Lorenzo Lingard situation on our hands, because that was one of the knocks that I heard people have on him when he was coming in. It was like, he's going to have to adjust because he's coming from a triple option, right? And so when I heard that, I automatically said, okay, well, I think Cam Harris is going to be ahead of him because Cam has played in this particular offense that we're running, and Lingard is going to have to adjust to it, right? So, man, we haven't had a return threat since Duke Johnson, and we obviously had to take him off of returns because he was too valuable to the offense. And after Duke, I felt like Stacy, but again, had to take Stacy off. Malik should have been that guy, but again, had a career-ending injury. A guy, and that was one of the things that I said when he was recruited, when he came in with Coach Rick. And I said, man, one of the things we've been doing here, man, we've been putting guys back that return kicks and punts. They didn't even do it in high school. Malik did this in high school, so let him do what he's done, because that's still a part of football. It's three things: offense, defense, special teams, right? So I think Chris Johnson can be the biggest X factor in this particular class. Need to find a way to use this speed, right? Need to find a way to use the speed, and not just use it the way that we see people use it, where, hey, put him in on a jet sweep, all right, take him out the rest of the game. Like, no. Find ways to use him. Don't let him sit over there and run and then sit over there on the sideline for a quarter and a half, then bring him in and expect him to do something. Like, no, let him be the kick returner. Let him be the punt returner, right? Obviously, of course, the young man got to show that he can be trusted in those particular situations, but we need to use that particular speed. I hear a lot about guys talking about guys got speed. And that's one of the things that I really appreciated about Urban Meyer when they was at Florida, when they had Jeff Demps and Chris Rainey. Obviously, they were backing up Percy Hartman. Urban Meyer was going to make sure Rainey and Demps got the ball. and they would get the ball and they would keep him in the game, right? So that's why I'm saying if we put him on a jet sweep, go ahead and put him right back in the backfield. Let's go dual back. Let's use this young man. Right? Now, obviously, of course, just break him in as a freshman and stuff like that. But wholeheartedly, by his sophomore, going the back half of his sophomore year, going to his junior year, again, if he's being developed properly, he needs to be a weapon. He needs to be a weapon. Hopefully, we got an offensive coordinator, offensive system in place that's going to utilize him as such. We need to use him as a weapon because that's just too much speed, man. And we've had situations where we have not used our speed guys the way they need to be used. So hopefully we do that. And lastly, I'm going to get out of here because this video has run longer than I thought it was going to run. But, I like to talk a little bit. We're talking Canes ball. We're talking football in general. Jaleel Skinner. Obviously, Jaleel Skinner, guy that we flipped last minute from the University of Alabama, was able to come in some reserve time. And one of the first thing that stuck out to me when I saw Jaleel Skinner on the field, I said, he's a hands catcher. He's not fighting the ball. He is a hands catcher. And honestly, that is something that we have been missing for a long time. As good as Charleston Rambo and Mike Harley were, in 2021, I didn't see natural hands catchers. I saw a lot of guys, the ball coming around, they cradle the ball and stuff like that. But I saw Jaleel Skinner as a hands catcher. Now, obviously, he's gonna pick up some weight, and I don't really get into these discussions about what we're not doing in terms of the portal about getting wide receivers. I don't get into that because I don't care. I don't care, and the reason I don't care is because I don't care if the wide receiver is the number one guy. I don't care if the tight end is the number one guy. Get me a number one guy. We'll figure the rest out. So most people feel like, well, Kobe Young on most teams, he probably could be a number 2, number 3, or whatever like that. Okay, fine, cool. But Jaleel Skinner can go to most teams and be their number one pass catching threat. Why should he not be that this year? Why should he not? I'm going to be watching Jaleel Skinner closely. Hopefully the young man puts his head down, gets to work, because he has a huge, huge opportunity ahead of him. I don't know. I didn't see enough of him again to make a grand prediction or make a grand comparison. But I think obviously, I don't know if he's that fast. I don't know if he's Kyle Pitts fast. I don't know if he's David Njoku fast. I don't know. But he's a hands catcher, man. And that is just, again, that's something that we have been lacking. And hopefully that young man becomes, not going to say our entire offense, but I hope that we're able to utilize him in that particular way. And I think if we utilize him in the correct way, Jaleel Skinner will be our number one playmaker going into 2023. So as always, man, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, share, comment, and it's all about you. Peace.